everyone, I am Anushree, 6th semester student of BA Functional English Department. And this video I would like to draw your attention into the topic in second module, the classification and description of consonants, which is an important topic in the paper Applied Phonetics, 3rd semester student of BA Functional English. So, to describe a consonant sound, we need certain important pieces of information. We need to know the following details regarding its production. So, 6 important aspects for describing consonant sounds are airstream mechanism, state of glottis, position of the soft palate, active articulator, passive articulator, stricture involved. First one, the airstream mechanism. All English sounds are produced with pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Next, the state of glottis. Speech sounds can be classified as voiceless and voiced, each depending upon whether the vocal cords are wide apart and the glottis is wide open. Next, the position of the soft palate. It classified as oral or nasal, it depending upon whether the soft palate is raised so as to shut off the nasal passage of air simultaneously with an oral closure. Next, the active and passive articulator. We need two organs of speech sound. The articulators that moves is called the active articulator and the articulator which does not move is called passive articulator. Next, the stricture involved. The stricture refers to the way in which the passage of air is restricted by the various organs of speech. Let us study the various types of strictures. First one is complete closure and sudden release. By the expression complete closure, we mean that both oral and nasal passage of air are closed completely. Sounds articulated with a stricture of complete closure and sudden release are called plosives. For example, p, b, t, d, k, g. P as in spoon, b as in about, t as in stool, d as in lady, k as in skin, g as in echo. Next one is complete closure and slow release. The active articulator is removed slowly from the passive articulator and the air escapes with slight friction. Sounds articulated with a structure of complete closure and slow release are called affricates. For example, ch and j. Ch such as cheap, j such as jar. Next one, complete oral closure. The air from the lungs escapes freely through the nostrils. Consonant sounds articulated with a structure of complete oral closure are called nasal. For example, m, n, ng. M such as mat, n such as nice, ng such as uncle. Next, intermittent closure. The word intermittent means happening at intervals or stopping and then starting again. The air from the lungs escapes between the space between the articulators intermittently. Sounds that are articulated with a structure of intermittent closure are called trills or rolled sounds. For example, the letter R English is pronounced as a trill by Scott. Next, quick closure and release. The articulation of some sounds, the active articulator strikes quickly against the passive articulator just once. Such sounds are called taps or flaps. For example, the English letter R is pronounced as a tap or flap when it occurs between two vowels as in very merry. When it occurs after th as in three. Next, close approximation. The air from the lungs escapes through the narrow gap, producing audible friction. Sounds articulated with a structure of close approximation are called fricatives. For example, f, v, t, d, s, z, sh, v, h. F such as fan, V such as van, T such as thin, D such as then, S such as sun, Z such as zoo, Sh such as sheep, V such as vision, H such as hat. Next, partial closure. Sounds articulated with a structure of partial closure are called laterals. That means complete closure in the center of the oral passage, but the side of the tongue are lowered, so the air from the lungs escapes freely along the side of the tongues. The English word love is an example of lateral, and Tamil letter N is also example for an lateral. The last one, open approximation. The air from the lungs escapes through this wide gap freely, without any friction. Sounds articulated with a structure of open approximation are called frictionless, continuants, and semi-vowels. Some phoneticians call these sounds approximants. For example, U, V, U such as U, V such as white. Next, place of articulation just means that two articulators involved in the production of a consonant can be described according to their places of articulation. So, based on the place of articulation, consonants are classified into different categories, in which first one, bilabial. Bilabial, the two lips are the articulator. For example, p, b, m as in words spoon, bus and meat. So the next category placed point of articulation is labiodental. Labio means lip, dental means teeth. They are articulated by the lower lip against the upper teeth. For example, the sound f, v as in the words fan and van. Next, dental. The tip of the tongue is the active articulator and the upper front teeth are the passive articulator. For example, the sound th, d as in the words thin and then. Next, alveolar. The tip or the blade of the tongue is the active articulator and teeth ridge is the passive articulator. For example, the sounds t as in star, d as in do, N as in nice, S as in sea. Next, post-alveolar. The tip of the tongue is the active articulator and the part of the roof of the mouth is that lies immediately behind the teeth ridge is the passive articulator. The letter R in English word try and dry is an example of post-alveolar. Next, palato-alveolar. The tip of the tongue and the blade of the tongue is the active articulator and teeth ridge is the passive articulator. For example, ch as in child, j as in jam, sh as in sheep. Next, retroflex. The curled back tip of the tongue is the active articulator and the hinder part of the teeth ridge is the passive articulator. The Tamil letter d and n are some example of retroflex consonant. Next, palatal. The front of the tongue is active articulator. The hard palate is the passive articulator. The sound y as in yes in English word is an example of palatal. Next, velar. The back of the tongue is the active articulator. Soft palate is the passive articulator. In English, sound k as in skin, g as in god are the example of velar sound. Next, uvular. The extreme back of the tongue is the active articulator and uvula is the passive articulator. There are no example of uvular sounds in English. Next, glottal. The two vocal cords are the articulators. For example, the sound h as in hat. Next, pharyngeal. The root of the tongue is the active articulator. The back wall of the pharynx is the passive articulator. For example, the Urdu or Arabic letters Ha and Ain is an example of pharyngeal. The last one, labial velar. The back of the tongue and the lower lip are the active articulator. The soft palate and the upper lip are the passive articulator. For example, the sound V as in voice. So, this is the description and classification of consonants. Thank you for watching.